trade tensions between Canada and the US are ramping up, and this time, Alaska could be caught in the storm. The Trump administration's hardline tariffs on Canadian goods have sparked a sharp counter from Ottawa, with British Columbia now weighing tariffs on American shipments heading north. This isn't just a trade scuffle, it's a high-stakes geopolitical showdown that could shake up supply chains, drive up costs, and even put U.S. military logistics in the Pacific at risk. Is this the start of an all-out economic battle, or is Canada just drawing new lines to strengthen its bargaining position? Let's break down the key moves and what they could mean for Alaska's future.
It'll be one tool among a number of tools that enables us to respond to escalations from the American side. It will not be implemented immediately, but we will have it available if it's required.
Trump's trade moves, the road to this standoff. Trade tensions between Canada and the U.S. have been bubbling under the surface for years. When Donald Trump took office, his America First trade agenda put a spotlight on countries he saw as taking advantage of the U.S. market, and Canada quickly landed in the crosshairs. Back in 2018, Trump slapped tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, sparking backlash from Ottawa. Now, in 2025, he's turned up the heat again with a 25% tariff on Canadian agricultural and industrial goods. Wasting no time, Ottawa is pushing back. British Columbia is now weighing new tariffs and transit fees on American trucks passing through Canada on their way to Alaska. This hits Alaska right where it hurts. Its supply chain. The state depends on Canadian routes for essential goods and even military logistics. But Trump isn't backing down, insisting that Canada needs the U.S. more than the U.S. needs Canada, a claim that many analysts aren't buying. Sure, Canada relies on U.S. trade, but Alaska's geographic isolation makes it especially vulnerable to Canadian pressure. And this isn't just about trade. Alaska is a strategic linchpin with serious military and economic weight.
Yeah, we don't need their cars, we don't need their energy, we don't need their lumber, we don't need anything. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S., just a straight artificial line.
Alaska's key role, economic powerhouse and strategic stronghold. Alaska isn't just another U.S. state. It's a strategic and economic heavyweight. Sitting at the northern edge of the Pacific, it's a critical military outpost and a key player in oil and gas production. Its economy also leans on tourism, fishing, and mining, all of which rely on steady transportation routes through Canada. The Alcan Highway, originally built during World War II, remains the only viable overland link between Alaska and the rest of the U.S., making it a lifeline for both military and commercial transport. If British Columbia moves forward with tariffs or restricts access, it could send costs soaring for Alaskan businesses and disrupt U.S. military logistics in the Pacific. Experts estimate that these tariffs could drive up the price of goods in Alaska by as much as 20%, with seafood, oil, and tourism feeling the biggest impact. Take Alaska's seafood industry. Higher transit fees could make its exports less competitive in U.S. markets, putting a strain on local fishermen. The military wouldn't be spared either. Alaska's air bases and naval ports rely on smooth supply lines through Canada. If those routes get disrupted, the Pentagon might be forced to shift to costly maritime transport, an expensive and strategic headache Washington would rather avoid. But this isn't just about economics. British Columbia's move is a calculated political play designed to turn up the pressure on Washington. Before we dive deeper, do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe. It helps us bring Globelines to more viewers like you. Now, let's chart the next course and break down what this all means for the US-Canada standoff. British Columbia's move? A tactical advantage or risky bet? So, is British Columbia really prepared to cut off Alaska? Or is this just a strategic bluff to push Trump into a corner? Make no mistake, BC's leadership knows exactly what they're doing. By targeting Alaska-bound traffic, they're putting direct pressure on Washington. It's a high-stakes gamble, but the potential payoff is massive. As one provincial official put it, if the United States can slap tariffs on our goods, why shouldn't we make them pay to reach Alaska? Reports indicate that British Columbia is weighing a fee of up to $500 per truck heading into Alaska, a move that could bring in serious revenue while turning up the heat on Washington to reconsider its trade stance. But there's a catch. Targeting Alaska-bound shipments wouldn't just squeeze the U.S., it could backfire on Canadian businesses, especially trucking companies that rely on American contracts. Cross-border trade is the backbone of BC's trucking industry, and if Washington retaliates, those companies could take a major hit, sparking domestic backlash against Canadian leaders. Still, British Columbia's threat isn't just for show. If Trump refuses to back down and escalates his tariffs, BC might feel compelled to follow through, pushing this standoff into uncharted territory. And the economic damage wouldn't stop at the border. Both countries could face serious repercussions, with industries on both sides feeling the squeeze. Economic consequences. What's at stake for both sides? If British Columbia moves forward with tariffs on Alaska-bound traffic, the fallout could be significant for both sides. Alaska would take the biggest hit, as supply chain disruptions drive up prices on essentials like groceries and construction materials. But the real pain point? The fishing industry. Higher transport costs could make Alaskan seafood less competitive in U.S. markets, putting a major revenue stream at risk. The oil and gas sector wouldn't be spared either. Pipeline routes and shipping channels through Canada could become the next tariff battleground, driving up costs for producers. But Canada wouldn't walk away unscathed. The U.S. is its largest trading partner, and any disruption would hit Canadian exporters hard. If American companies start looking for alternative shipping routes to dodge Canadian tariffs, Canadian businesses could lose out on key contracts and revenue. Tourism wouldn't be spared either. Higher transit fees on cruise ships and tour buses passing through British Columbia to Alaska could drive away American tourists, cutting into revenue for Canadian ports and local businesses. That kind of economic strain, combined with political backlash from both Canadian businesses and U.S. travelers, could push Ottawa to seek a resolution. And this isn't just about dollars and cents. The political stakes are just as high. Political risks. Is this a diplomatic showdown in the making? The fallout from this standoff isn't just economic, it's political. Alaska's Republican lawmakers are already sounding the alarm, pushing Washington to hit back if British Columbia moves forward with tariffs. But Trump's hardline trade stance could backfire. If Alaska's economy starts feeling the squeeze, pressure from his own Republican base might force him to the table, pushing him to negotiate with Canada and reconsider his tariffs. But Trump isn't known for backing down easily. His reputation as a tough negotiator raises the stakes for both sides. In Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is under pressure from industries feeling the squeeze of Trump's tariffs. If British Columbia's move forces Trump to reconsider, it would be a political win for Trudeau. But if this standoff spirals into a full-blown trade war, Canadian exporters could be looking at serious long-term consequences. Alaska's strategic role makes this even more complex. The Pentagon relies on steady supply lines through Canada to support military operations in the Pacific. If those routes get disrupted, the U.S. might be forced to ramp up its military presence along the Canadian border, an outcome neither Washington nor Ottawa wants to deal with. Final verdict. Is this trade war about to escalate? British Columbia's threat to tax Alaska-bound traffic is a bold but high-stakes gamble. On one hand, it gives Canada a bargaining chip against Trump's hardline trade policies. On the other, it risks destabilizing Alaska's economy and straining U.S.-Canada relations. The outcome of this showdown could reshape North American trade policy for years. So, what do you think? Will Canada's strategy push Trump to back down, or will Alaska end up caught in the crossfire of political brinkmanship? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the latest updates on this global power struggle. Thanks for watching Globelines. See you next time.